So if you haven't watched my previous video with over 8,000 landlords watching it so far, subscribe to the channel, watch my video on the first video on the renters' right bill. I'm not going to go through all the changes. Most landlords should, or I'd hope, know all the bill's aims and what's going to happen. And in this video I'm going to talk about the amendments that have been proposed in the committee stage. It's almost in implementation. It's going to the House of Lords now. Committee stage have been certain key things that are being amended, and the devil's in the detail. It makes a massive difference, guys. So if you don't know what the Renters' Rights Bill is as a landlord, make sure you subscribe, watch the video, and then come back to this video. Let's get it. But it's really important, guys, before I even start this, to make sure your ducks are in a row now. No more being complacent as landlord. I myself have had assessed my whole portfolio and made sure everything is stacking up. If in doubt, get them out with tenants, because as you can see from this video or previous videos, there's massive changes coming and you don't want to be stuck with headache tenants for the remainder of your property career. Guys, just a quick one. My sponsor of this video is LENDLORD. I've really enjoyed working with them, and basically I'm using the software, and I've never been a software guy. I've always been old school, even though I look young. So I started over 15 years ago writing things on paper. But as I said now, guys, the law's changing, it's all software based, the legislation's changing, it's harder to be a landlord, the compliance is massive. So I'm using LENDLORD to stack all my properties, make sure everything's done, all the certificates, all the rents. I've been uploading stuff to the portal, and I've seen where the agents, guys, if you're relying on agents and you're still getting, one of the properties I put on there, the market rent was 1,500, I'm getting 1,000, and if in doubt, put it up now before this comes into place, or get them out and get it to social housing. Guys, I have pinned a comment below my free referral code for LENDLORD, and it's totally free. No credit card, no free trial bullshit on this channel. I turn off ads, I don't monetize my audience. But guys, this will really help out your portfolio. Don't rely on agent software, don't rely on a rental statement coming once a month. Make sure you're on. I can log into my phone right now and show you exactly what rents, what market rents, analyze deals, get funding, get remortgages, and make sure my portfolio is optimized. So I'm not only taking advantage of the opportunities of this and landlords exiting the market, but also trying to get up to 100k a month net profit. I'm currently on 60. That's gone up about 4k since I've implemented LENDLORD, just because I've seen gaps where estate agents have been not even doing me over, but just been lax in it. And guys, we really need to make sure we're fine-tuning the business now, mainly because of this. So let's get into it. So guys, I've got the Renters' Right Bill here. You can rely on me to bring landlords who watch this channel, property investors. I'll do the hard work for you, like I do for my clients. I've gone through this bill and I like to print it out and do it manually. As I said, I am still a bit old school, but I like to read the law manually. I've highlighted key points of concern for me, which I'm going to explain to you now. There's things that have been amended which may benefit landlords, and we're hoping it's going to get implemented, but we're not sure. So you're going to have to subscribe to the channel, keep updated. I will, as soon as I get more information, I'll of course release videos, because this is the most important, probably one of the most important videos on my channel. Okay, it's very well getting properties below market value and all of that, which I do day in, day out for clients. But if you don't know the rules of the game, how can you play it, guys? And that's the key saying. So make sure you know the rules of the game, subscribe to the channel, I'll go through it, I'll be updating, I'll tell you how I'm managing the changes and how I'm still running a very profitable business, and I'm hoping it'll even get better, because one of the key things is, guys, and I haven't put it on here, but if I did, it would look something like this. FG and an arrow. The fear and greed index for landlords currently is probably 70% fear, guys, for existing landlords. I wouldn't say for newbies, because they don't know the rules of the game, so they're playing a different game, so it's fine. But for landlords who've been used to playing the old game, like myself, where you could just literally get rid of any tenant, put the rent up as you wanted it, none of these things applied, the fear and greed index is pretty much on fear. There's a lot of landlords exiting, guys, and we're buying up their properties at below market value, discount, and I think that's only going to get better for us investors who are staying in the market, weathering these changes and taking advantage of the fear of landlords. And it's not just fear, it might be landlords actually selling up because they've had enough, and if I was 60 I'd probably do the same, guys, because if you're used to playing one game and you're 60 now and you made loads of money, why are you going to train and kind of learn to play another game? You're not. But for the newbies, for the guys who are building their portfolios, this is a really interesting time, and where there's problems, there's opportunities, and we'll get into it right now. So, just a quick recap then of what certain lords have, and I've not looked into the political affiliations, to be honest, it's irrelevant at this stage, but some of it is a bloody farce. So there's amendments that are potentially going to allow 12-month tenancies if it's of mutual agreement between the tenant and the landlord. I don't think that's going to come in. I think that undermines the bill. I think Labour and Shelter are going to shout about that. I don't think that's going to come in, but it's actually, interestingly, one of the amendments. Now, they're going to mess up the student market. And it's not going to be a benefit to students or landlords, because students, they don't want to squat in a house. They want to do a year, 2 years, and then move on with their life. That's the whole point of being a student. You go to uni, you either move back home or you get a job down wherever you know what I mean. You're not going to live with the same. I'm not still living in a student house where I used to live with my student mates. You move on, right? So there's unnecessary messing about with the student market, saying you can't regain possession, you can't get it ready for next year. September to July. It's so unnecessary, guys, and it's just going to create headaches. And the thing is with ministers, and Labour especially, is they don't understand the property market. And I'll tell you an amendment in here which is really interesting. In fact, I'll tell you now. So one of the amendments in here, okay, is that the Secretary of State, or the minister, has to do a review as to the impact of this bill in 2 years' time on the rental market, supply, how many houses are for rent, and rent increases. So they already know. Obviously a lord who's got more business sense usually than someone who's pandering to the local people who go, oh, they're taking our jobs and our properties, right? They're saying they have to do a review, okay, evidence-based review on the impact of this. And what do you think the impact's going to be of this? I already know, and so does the House of Lords, that it's going to reduce probably even student houses for rent. It's going to reduce houses for rent for everyone. It's going to increase social housing demands, and we're massively going into that sector, okay, and it's going to push rents up. Now, they already know that, that's why they put that in, and one would suggest that the reason why they've asked for this review is that because they know that if they mess up the market, like they did where they've done other changes, like in Ireland where they put rent caps in, they can easily revert it. So I think that's a get out of jail card, but that's the way it's going, guys. So, I wouldn't be surprised if rent goes up, it already is. I wouldn't be surprised if supply goes down, it already is. There's not enough houses for people. There's social housing, there's such a demand for social housing. We're dealing with social housing companies all the time. That's going to get worse, because when there's not houses for rent, people go to social housing because that's what it's for, and it's just going to increase. So it really is messing, and when the government messes markets, usually it doesn't end well. And that's what you get from the socialist government, really. But that's just a by the by. Let's go into the technicalities. Okay, let me just read you the statement though. The amendment would require a review of the impact of the Act on the housing market, particularly in relation to the availability of rental homes, rents charged, house prices, and requests for social housing. If you're staying in the market now and you're one of my clients or you've been mentored by me, what do you think is going to happen to rents? Do you think by forcing landlords out of the market, by bringing all these, making it harder to operate, more barriers to entry, do you think rents are going to go down or up? Well, rents only go down when there's more supply, like anything. Okay, if there's a limited number and more people want a product, it just naturally the market goes up. And if they you either be a smart landlord and find ways around it, or you exit the market. So if you find ways around it, you're actually going to be more profitable than you are now. I actually think I'm going to be more profitable with this than I am now, guys. So I'm not too fussed. Yes, I am annoyed about certain things, but where there's problems, there's opportunities, and I think a lot of landlords are going to exit the market. Not only that, people who've got money from other businesses are going to get put off. So the market's going to be dominated by large landlords who own a lot of properties, and it's just going to be easier to operate because you're not competing with other landlords, okay, undercutting you. And I think it's done deliberately. And one of the things I point to in this is, I'll come to it in a bit, but basically there's some concessions for larger landlords in this, in terms of allowing fixed term tenancies for build to rent. So if you build a new build housing scheme, some of this doesn't even apply. They're trying to say, okay, well, you can have a fixed term tenancy for 12 months, but everybody else can't. So that's a clear bias to the big companies. So, if they're investing, I'd argue that it looks good for us, right? Another funny one, Section 21 for landlords for less than 5 properties. So one of the amendments in here, and it's quite good, I hope it comes in, is you can still do Section 21, so basically no fault evictions if you own 5 or less properties. So how is that going to be, sometimes you don't think though, how is that going to be implemented? Because I could start a new company up, and technically the company owns 2 properties and the company owns a house. So that means I'm a landlord that owns less than 5 properties, so I can do the Section 21 no fault eviction. And then what I'll do is the next property, I'll just buy on another limited company. So that gets around that. So there's always loopholes, guys. So stay tuned to the channel. I'm the king. I'm Mr. Loophole when it comes to property. So that's just one of them. That took me 2 seconds to think of. So there's bound to be others. Do you buy a property in your sister's name who already owns 2? Do the Section 21 and then sell it to you. Do you buy it? There's loads of things. I've got clients who don't own any property in their own name, so should they just buy it in their own name? Because technically, a limited company and a legal person are 2 different things. A limited company is a legal entity and a legal person is a legal entity. So that just bypasses that whole loophole. So it's weird. I don't think they know what they're doing, to be honest. I don't think many politicians who are doing this are big time landlords, and if they are, they're not getting involved, because if they are, they're shutting their mouth and they don't want the media to know they're big time landlords, because there's a big political movement against being a landlord now, and it's really sad because when I started, it was really unfashionable to be an entrepreneur. Now everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and it's seen as a really good thing to have your own business. But yet, if you're doing property, especially being a landlord, a traditional landlord, a lot of societies still look at you a certain way, especially if you're wealthy. But everyone who is a landlord is wealthy, so just deal with it. Would you rather be lied to, or would you rather have money in the bank and going abroad? So guys, another amendment, fixed term tenancies by mutual agreement. So they're saying if you agree with a tenant, there could be a fixed term tenancy. Well, surely you're going to only give tenancies to people who agree to that. So I'm not sure that's going to be implemented. I hope it will. These are actually written in black and white by lords, Lord Truscott, Lord Cromwell, Baroness Thornhill, Lord Young of Cookham, but it doesn't mean at the moment, and we're going to have more news on this in the next coming weeks if it's going to be implemented, because the more these are implemented, the more the game changes, the more we need strategies, the more you watch this channel, you get them. Guys, by the way, if you want to click a yes in the comments, comment yes, and you'll get my free property investment guide and just show you what we've been doing with clients, how we've been making money in this market, and how we'll continue to make money, and any way I can help you. So yes in the comments, and remember, all my links are listed as well, including the free Landlord app, which has really helped my business. And guys, if you could like, comment and subscribe as well, it will help me grow this channel and bring you more and more content, and just help you guys out and dedicate more of my time to doing stuff like this. And big thank you to our sponsor. So I've gone through build to rent, ASTs. There's a clear bias towards the big companies, the hedge funds. I've gone through that in previous videos, but as I say, where smart money invests, you invest too. even if there's a clear bias and the big builders get away with giving 12-month ASTs, all it does, a rising tide lifts all ships, so you'll still benefit as a landlord. Now, this is a really, really good one, and I'm not sure if I hate it or I kind of love it. And some of my clients know that we're picking up properties 30, sometimes 30% below market value, minimum 20% below market value. We're pushing up the rent or slash moving the tenants on, yeah, and we're making good profits. Now, one of the concessions in this bill is, sometimes we're flipping them, a lot of the time we're flipping them as well. One of the concessions in this bill is Section 21, you won't just be able to do a non-fault eviction, so they'll have to be in arrears, unless you want to sell the property. That's always been the caveat. So if a landlord wants property back, and a big landlord, they can do it. Okay, you have to give 4 months notice, it's increased from 2 months to 4 months, but essentially you can get it back if you want to sell it. So essentially I can buy a property that's got a tenanted property from auction, give notice to sell, and I've obviously bought it below market value because who's going to take that risk? And even now we get them below market value from existing landlords. Move the tenant onto another property or to a social housing provider or to private rented. Usually their rents are lower than market value, and then sell the property. Now, so there's a clause in here that says landlords are required to submit evidence RE to sale within 16 weeks of the possession order. So what that's saying is you will get the possession order, but within 16 weeks of that order, you have to give evidence from your estate agents, solicitors that you've tried to sell the property. Well, that's fine, you know, especially if you've got an estate agent, side company or friend. But generally that's fine, okay, no loopholes. You know, definitely no loopholes there. But seriously guys, when you're getting a possession order, I've read in here as well that you have to give a signed statement of truth to the judge to say that you've engaged solicitors and you've engaged estate agents. So put it on, buy it for 100, put it on for 160. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it says in here, after 6 months of trying to sell, I think it's 6 months, of trying to sell, and it hasn't sold, to make sure there is still supply, because all of this is reducing supply, as I said earlier. You can actually re-let it, but you have to offer it to the tenant, the previous tenant, again for the same rent. So what essentially that means is you're going to ring up the tenant who's moved out because of the possession order and go, mate, I haven't sold the house, do you want to move back in for the same rent? And then if they say no, you can remarket it on the rental market for a new rent. So that's a loophole in itself. Second of all, where's a tenant going to be in all that time? They're not just going to be sat outside on the street waiting for you to sell the property. They're going to find another property or go to social housing or go to the council. So then you're going to ring them up and you're going to go, do you want to move back? They're not, are they? Realistically, they're not. Also, who's going to police how you contact them if you contacted them? It's just weird. It's like, who's going to check that? Oh, can you send us proof? Yeah, I rang them twice, but I didn't miss my call. Send them a WhatsApp. How can I put it on Rightmove? What is council officer or police person going to ring you up and go, mate, why is your property on Rightmove? Because you haven't rang the tenants. They've complained. Not going to happen, is it, guys? So that's a weird one, but if it comes in, great. But the point is, guys, you can still get possession, and that's a really good thing. And so what if you have to put it on the market? So what? Sell it for 160. What if someone wants to buy it? Then who polices if the sale goes through or not? Who polices if you can't remortgage it in that time? No mention of that. You can remortgage it any time. There's no prohibition. So you could buy below market value, remortgage it, get all your money back out, which we're doing now. Get a possession order, get it on for the new market rent. And the whole point of doing this, guys, is because and I'll go into that right now actually. So why are we doing this? If you're renting a property and the tenant moved in 5 years ago and the rent is 700 and the market rent is 1400, this new law means you can't put the rent up for more than inflation. Okay, one of the things on here is that for the first 4 years of the tenancy, you can't put it up to more than inflation. I think it's like 2% above inflation. So you can't just buy a property or inherit a property which the rent is 400 and then double the rent because it's market value for the first 4 years. That's an amendment in here. So what's the way around that? First of all, landlords, if you've got properties now, if in doubt, get them out or get them up. Okay, get the rents up or get them out. And it's already seen this in the market where rents are sky rising because you need to reset the rents before this comes in, and this could come in 2025, April or towards the end of 2025 with the full implementation. So you need to reset the rents now. So we're already doing that across the portfolio. As I said, Landlord's really helping. I'm showing, it shows all the comparables. It shows where I'm losing out. I had a property, as I said, that was rented well under market value. So we increase the rent or we serve Section 21 while we still can. If you don't do this, you won't be able to increase the rent for the first 4 years to only by inflation, which is what, 2-3%, which is going to be nothing if you're 50% under rented. So what can you do in that situation? Well, you can go back to this loophole, put it on for sale at a market value. Again, who determines market value? It's what somebody wants to pay. If you want to list a house for 50 grand more because you painted a wall, you can do that. So so if it doesn't sell and the tenant's moved on, then you can put it back on and reset the rent. So that'll benefit me and my business. But as I said, I'm getting ahead of, you've always got to be ahead of the game in property, and even more so now. So we're getting ahead of all this by getting all the rents up to market value, getting to social housing. It doesn't really affect us too much because, as I said in previous videos, guys, I'm also renting mostly HMOs and mostly social housing, so I don't actually have to deal with people. Your biggest problem in business and in property is people, and your biggest assets people. So if I can negotiate with a provider and have that in the contract, this won't apply. If I rent to students or HMO or foreign students, which I do in Manchester a lot, and the Northwest where we buy, and the demand is such, again, they're not staying for 5 years. They're doing a master's there, they're going down to London, or they're going back to their home country, or they're going to nice Deansgate Square, Manchester, and spending the salary and getting a nice place to live. They're not going to live in a HMO forever. So then when they move out, we reset the rents. So we're not even bothered by this. And the thing is, guys, the HMO rates are going to go up. The rent's going to go up anyway. Even because it's going up for families, the room rates will go up. So we're going to benefit anyway. I'm buying in non-Article 4 areas now, where it could become Article 4, and I'm just doing HMOs or giving it to social housing. No more family lets. So that's the way I'm dealing with this. Obviously, I'm buying properties that are family lets, well below market value from retiring landlords, and I'm just increasing the rent or moving the tenant on or out and making it social housing or HMOs. And I've done some really good deals for myself and clients, and if yes in the comments and you'll see examples. One of the amendments in here, which has been talked about for ages and I don't think it's going to happen, is assess the operation of the courts first. So one of the laws has put in here that they have to do an assessment of the courts, and the courts are a mess, right? With the waiting times and different judges doing different things. So they're saying to do a whole review, which could take like a year or two before they implement this. So guys, if that comes in, this is going to get delayed, the implementation. So let's hope it does come in, but if it doesn't, back to business. We've already gone through the CPI and tenancy rent increases. So basically that's effectively a rent cap. Rent caps have never worked. They've never worked in Ireland, never worked abroad. So what you're asking for then is reducing the supply. And yes, somebody might be on 400 quid and you can't, and that unlucky landlord who hasn't followed my advice couldn't put it up. But the rent for everybody else has gone up because the supply's gone down. So it will negatively affect tenants, and all these things that they've put on here. And if you're watching this as a tenant, and I've been a tenant and might be a tenant again, because sometimes it's better to rent than to put £1 million into a property. Maybe I'm better off renting it for 10 or 8k a month. So I'm not talking about this just from a greedy landlord's point of view, right? But it's not going to benefit the tenants, guys. You know, if I want to rent somewhere and I want to ring up and get the property, and it's an amazing property and I've done it before, and pay 12 months in advance to blow out all the other competition, I used to be able to. Now they're capping that. You can't even get 12 months rent in advance. There is an amendment to allow that by mutual agreement, but again, is it going to be implemented? So guys, all this, stay subscribed to the channel and you'll get minute by minute, or well, not minute by minute because these are slow, but week by week, month by month updates as to what's coming in definitely to law and what's not, and we can adjust our businesses and remain profitable well ahead of the competition, guys. On this channel, all the landlords, all the property investors watching it should be well ahead of the competition, and that's how they'll clean up. Okay, so mutually agreed 12 months in advance. I've just said that. Hopefully that will come in. I doubt it. Now, I said on my previous video on this, on the renters reform, renters rights bill now, that one of the ways around it is to get guarantors from every tenant, so there's no problems, right? It's almost as if they watched my video and they've gone, that's a loophole, so let's close it, right? Because I've just read in here that now there's rules about guarantors. So now you can't have a guarantor. One of the amendments in here is that you can't have a guarantor to be liable for more than 6 months of the rent. So even if the person owes 12 months rent, the guarantor would only be liable for 6 months. You can't get a guarantor if they pass affordability. You can't. There's so many rules that they're trying to implement in here about guarantors, right? So what's that going to mean? That's going to mean it's actually harder for the tenant now, because a landlord still has a choice, and if person A doesn't need a guarantor clearly, but person B really wants the property, is doing everything, has got a really good guarantor, but the rules say you can't have a guarantor because they pass affordability, but you're still not sure, right? Who are you going to give it to? And it's just harder for people to, you know, you might be self-employed making 5k a month online, right? But you haven't got 3 years accounts. In that situation, but you pass your credit check, etc., and you've got a side job. In that situation, we might not be allowed to ask a guarantor. Well, who are we going to give the property to? That person, or a person with a normal 9 to 5? So what does that person do then? They're now shut out of the rental market. So they have to go to social housing. So what happens there? Well, there's more demand on social housing at the same time as the number of landlords in the market are reducing. So what happens? Everyone's screwed apart from the landlord. So really, you've got to ask yourself who's going to benefit from this, and it's usually the people who've been, the big companies who've been lobbying, the big hedge funds from America, the investors in the UK property market. It's a big boys club. If you're part of a club, I mean, you may not necessarily be at the same table, but you're in the same room with your own property, and you're going to benefit if you can navigate this, because they already know this, guys. They already know the rules of the game. They've pretty much had dinner with lords to get this, so they already know that. So on this channel, we're not far behind, and we're the exit. Other landlords are providing us exit liquidity. We're making money off landlords who are either scared and selling or have had enough. And if we're finessing the game, we can print money, and that's what we're basically doing. Now, that's going to change slightly because of this, but I believe it'll be even more opportunities. Right, okay, so another one. So what do you do if you're a landlord and you're like, I don't want to rent anymore to families, I don't know how to do HMOs, I haven't got the knowledge, I'm going to do Airbnb because it's quite easy. Well, in here, there's an amendment that says short-term lettings restrictions. So if the property is previously rented as a family home or just a residence, there's an amendment that says you can't rent it as short-term accommodation without getting planning permission, change of use. So what they're saying is now, well, we think landlords are going to do this because it's a lot easier and they make more money doing Airbnb, so we'll stop that as well. So basically forcing you to rent to families. Number one, who's going to prove that it used to be rented to a family or rented? Number two, if you do that now, that's not going to apply at all. So you really need to have your strategy set, guys. And if you want a free consultation or a free chat, one of my team's always available, but you really need to assess which property can suit which strategy. The property I'm sat in now has been rented to an international student, but it's ripe for short-term accommodation, and that's what it's going to be when I finish using it. Okay, and it will be implemented before this, so there's no problems. But then again, if this property was in a different council area, they might know. So it just depends where you operate and what property you've got, how much you can make. If this was suitable for social housing, I'd just give it to social housing. It depends. If it's central Manchester, it'd be private rented as a HMO for £700 a room. So it really does depend, guys. And by the way, it's in Sheffield. And there's not much property for either rent or Airbnb, so that's why it's really good. But that's just by the by. Also, guys, I've got all my money out of this a long time ago because I remortgaged it, so it doesn't really bother me. I got it for a cheap price, did a basic refurb with in-house builders. I've got all my money out, so that's another thing you got to consider. Like, it's already paid me back. Okay, so short-term letting restrictions. They're saying a minimum AST could be 6 months to stop tenants moving in. Because currently in this bill, a tenant could move in, give notice straight away, and have a 2-month tenancy. So basically, saving money, they don't have to go Airbnb, they don't have to pay for a hotel, they can just use it for a 2-month period and get benefit from a long-term rental rate for 2 months. So that's realistically, that's pretty stupid. That'll just be a farce, because what you'll do is, okay, I just want to live there for 2 months. So I'll take the tenancy and then just give notice on day one. I'm moving out in 2 months and they can't do anything. This is ridiculous. So there is an amendment to change that. Whether it comes or not is a massive one, because if it doesn't come, what I just said about Airbnb changes. Because who's going to rent an Airbnb for 2 months on £100, £200 a night when they can literally go and rent a property for £1,000 a month, whatever the rent is, and then give notice? So it's a massive change to the rental market, the way landlords are operating, the way tenants are operating. Really do keep informed of all these changes, and I'm assessing it every week as things change, reading the comments, reading everything about it. And to be honest, guys, no one knows anything at the moment in terms of what's being implemented, apart from the fact that these things are on the table. Okay. So we've gone through, I mean, I've given you like a few loopholes already, to be honest, on how to make money. If you can't work it out, then I don't know what to do, but, it's one of them. Okay, so we've got the guarantors, we've done the minimum 6 months, we've done the short-term lettings restriction, we've done the rental caps, which is quite a big one to watch out for, because it really means you need to have your rents optimised now. That's a load of bullshit. I don't think that's even going to be done about the courts. Landlords submit evidence, not that hard to get evidence of that you wanted to sell it. Or if you want your family member to move in, you need a signed letter. Sure, a family member could move in for a few months, or just use it as a base. Build to rent bias, which the company is building to rent. Fixed term tenancies by mutual agreement, let's see. Section 21 for landlords less than 5 properties, that's a big loophole. Is it going to be implemented? If it is, realistically, that's quite a big loophole. And now the student market is a whole mess about. I rent students, and who knows how that's going to work for both sides. As I said, students want to move out, new students want to move in. That's just a mess. That's just a farce. Other thing is, guys, they're talking about 10-year HMO licensing, not 5 years, because schemes are currently restricted. So now a council is likely to choose a 10-year. Why not? Because you can print more money. You're going to have a 10-year license, which arguably could be better, commercially valuable. You've got a 10-year license to print money as a HMO landlord. Obviously, going to cost you double the price, but you're paying to print money, as with everything. If you don't pay, you don't print. So be happy that's an option for 10 years, because no one can mess about for 10 years. So I actually don't mind that. I know it's going to cost double, but I actually don't mind that. Because after 5 years, usually it's a mess about again to get another license, or they change the conditions, etc. You're worried about a remortgage, you can't pull money back out till you got another license. Give us a 10-year license. What else could it mean is that Article 4 areas, they might hold back on that, and they might go, you know what, we can make more money charging £2,000 for a 10-year license. What's the point of making it Article 4? Because we're cutting off a cash flow for the council. So watch out for that, guys, especially in these days of austerity and cuts. Are they going to go, let's just not have any HMOs? Or are they going to go, let's charge £2,000 for HMO? But you're still going to make your money, guys, otherwise it's not going to be commercially valuable for them to charge it, are they? If you have to pay £2,000 but you're making £2,000 a month for 10 years, which a lot of HMOs do, you're going to pay the £2,000. Do you know what I mean? So, and if they make the area Article 4, even better, because we're buying in Article 4 areas, we're buying in areas that are near Article 4, that potentially could become Article 4, depending on this. And if they do, that's even better, because as the rental supply comes down, the demand for rooms goes up, because 4 rooms you can house four people, 4 households in one HMO. So obviously, with the less houses for families, people are going to go to HMOs. In addition to the other things like the bills are going up, it's harder to, council tax probably going up, all of that for the average worker, and the cost of living's going up. They're going to want a nice HMO room, guys. So unless, you know, they're very wealthy or just along the journey, right? In that situation, I think personally all this is going to increase the demand for social housing, which we're doing, or HMO rooms. I don't advise any clients to rent to families anymore unless they're high value tenancies like to footballers, etc., right, or doctors, or people coming on a 1-year visa. Apart from that, guys, and even then you have to be careful, apart from that, guys, I wouldn't be renting to families now. I'd be pivoting, I'd be giving it to our social housing providers, I'd be making it a HMO, I'd be doing serviced accommodation, I'd be giving it to a rent-to-rent operator, I'd be giving it to the council. All of that is better than dealing with people when this comes into force, because as I said, people are the biggest problem and the biggest asset in property. I built my property business through people. I'm still servicing people, whether tenants or clients, and if you do a good job and provide a good service, you make money. But at the same time, guys, people are going to be your biggest headache, especially tenants. Some of the biggest problems I've had, some of the biggest cash flow issues I've had, some of the biggest fines I've had is from tenants. So if we can eliminate the problem and just give it to one operator, obviously with all the checks and balances in place, and have guarantors from the company directors, which is again not applicable to this, we're going to win, guys. And they can probably pay more because the council are going to have to pay more because the supply is less. So that's the way it stands at the moment, the renters' rights update. Guys, it's a massive change. Section 21 is massive. It's putting a lot of landlords on. I read a report in the NRLA, and there's only like 30% of landlords who are looking to buy another property at the moment. 43%-ish are looking to stay the same, and a lot of landlords are selling. And one of the reasons, there's 2 reasons for that. One is the impact of the Renters' Right Bill, and second of all is EPC, the EPC 2030. Now guys, I get asked this quite a lot in my videos, quite a lot of comments. Guys, also leave a comment as to what you want me to cover as well, because I'll literally cover it for you. But one of the comments was, doesn't the EPC, so minimum EPC C or above, the landlord has to spend £15,000 to prove they tried to upgrade it, because that seems commercially viable. Does that not put you off in 2030? Guys, I don't think that's going to happen. One, I'm just going to put a screenshot now of the Labour's target for house building, which is already not happening. Have a look at this article, okay? 2030, 5 years time. Whatever property I'm buying now, even if it's EPC D, E, etc., in 5 years time, I would have more than doubled my money. I'm buying them and making 30%. Am I bothered if it comes into force miraculously with no amendments, no changes in 2030, you can't rent? I think it's about 30% of the housing stock would need upgrade. Landlords private rented would need upgrading. Is that viable? If there's a prohibition on rent in 2030 and they suddenly go, you can't rent anymore because it's EPC D, what's going to happen? It's not really something that's going to happen, is it? Because suddenly there's going to be like 20,000, that's nothing, but even 10,000 homeless people because of that. It's not going to happen, is it? Let's say it does happen. Let's say bear in mind there could be another election before that. The government could change. It's quite a long time, 5 years. People are already fed up of the government now, so are they going to get voted back in 5 years? Let's see. But let's say they do. Let's say they even go even more mental against landlords and socialists and they implement it. What am I going to do? Well, the properties that don't meet it, I've already cashed out on. I'll just cash out on them. That's it. So all that 5 years profit will be banked. All the properties I'm buying now cheaper that landlords are getting scared of and not buying, all of that's pure profit, and I'll just cash out on those ones and reinvest it. That's business, guys. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I would do. So to answer the person's question, or the people's questions who keep commenting, I'm not bothered at the moment. And I know there's certain landlords who are not even buying EPC-D properties, and they're buying like EPC-BA, you know, like the new builds, and you're going to lose out on that, because new builds are specifically, you're paying developers profit and they hardly ever go up. So I'm not too bothered. As I said, 5 years is a long time. If it comes in overnight and then suddenly go, you can't rent it, sell it. We'll likely know more a year before, but as I said, guys, 5 years is probably a change of government. Who's going to vote Labour again? Even the people who voted Labour, even the people who don't like landlords are complaining. So I don't know. I don't know on that one. I look forward, but I also, you have to take risks in business, and you have to have patience and longevity and plan for the future. So my exit, my plan B on that would be to cash out and reinvest into other properties. As simple as that. I've been doing that for years. You know, where certain cities are not working or they've reached their potential, I'm cashing out and buying in areas that are going to be Article 4 soon. Because I've got prior knowledge and I look at all the data again, guys, and I'm doing that even more so now using software such as LENDLORD. So it's one of them. But guys, the other thing is, if you don't necessarily want to watch all these videos and stuff, if you sign up to LENDLORD for free or follow the link, they've got an update page, and you can literally print it out of all the changes to the Renters' Right Bill. If you're a landlord, I'd suggest doing that, printing it out and just making sure you highlight stuff that can affect you. So basically, you know where you stand and your ducks in a row. If you need any advice or help, as I said, link in the description. And I'm just going through anything that I missed here. Tell you what, guys, the devil really is in the detail. Okay, page 5 of the amendments from the Renters' Right Bill. Baroness Grender. In the heading of part 1, remove must and substitute may. It's one word. Change must to may. Yeah, that's what she's saying. Members' explanatory statement. So underneath they'll say why they've done that. This amendment makes all grounds for repossession discretionary. Because now the judge is reading it when they're applying the law, and they're saying, well, the law says may, not must, so I don't have to give repossession. So maybe I like the person, the defendant, I don't like the claimant, the landlord's a dick. I'm going to not give possession, because the law now doesn't say must, it says may. That's one word, guys. Do you see where I'm saying you need to have your ducks in order? You need to be it's a military operation now, property, but you can make a lot of money. So it's war against landlords, but a lot of people make a lot of money in wars, and just one word like this can make the difference. So guys, really be up to speed and stuff. I've already set up a side business as an estate agency who are listed on big portals, not Rightmove, but other portals. We don't want to be on Rightmove if we're trying to sell a house, do we? But no, seriously, guys. So, if we need a letter of engagement from an estate agent concerning the sale of a dwelling house to get possession, well, I'll just ask my sister company, the estate agents, to provide that, and I'll list it on a portal. It doesn't have to be Rightmove, does it? It could be a lesser known portal where there's not many visitors, not many people see it for sale. They can't put Rightmove in there because then the whole law is sponsored by Rightmove. And they're the biggest provider, so why would you want to list it on there if you wanted to sell it, or if you didn't want to sell it? I'd probably list it on Gumtree for sale, or I don't know, overseas properties. Maybe sell it to Chinese investors for double the price. Anyway, that's just my thinking. Don't follow that. I'm just looking through, see if there's anything I've missed. As I said, most of these I don't think they're going to come in. I think the ones against landlords are going to come in. I think the cap in tenancy, rent increases are definitely going to come in. So get your rents sorted now, or rent to the right tenants now. If in doubt, get them out. And give the problem to somebody else. It's not your responsibility, guys and clients. I have this all the time. It's not your responsibility to look after someone's future. It's your responsibility to look after your own future and your family's future. Not You're not responsible for housing in this country. That's the council's job. That's why people pay council tax. You're not responsible for moving someone on and giving it to the council, because the council have that responsibility. So why don't you make sure that the rent or the person you're dealing with doesn't cause a problem for you in the future? Because when you've got a problem, your family's going to have a problem. That's the way I see it, guys. We're not agents of the government, we're not agents of the state, we're not a council, we're treated really badly, so why are we adopting that mindset? Okay, it's all about mindset and confidence in property, and if you don't get confidence from your own portfolio, come to me and I'll give you confidence on how to go forward. But it's all about confidence. I've already gone through this whole bill and I'm really confident about the future of my property business. And if you don't know who I am, I have a large portfolio, started 15 years ago, got a multi-million pound portfolio. I've had my challenges, I've had fines, I've built a massive portfolio. I've got properties in all of North West, Sheffield, Manchester, Liverpool, Warrington, Bolton, Salford, Birmingham, there's abroad. I've built a big portfolio, so I should, out of everyone, have the most to fear about this. Bear in mind, I've got over 200, no, more than 200 tenants, more than 200 tenants. So if this affects every tenancy, which it will, that could be a massive headache. But I've already got my ducks in a row, guys, and I suggest you do the same whether you've got 1 or 10 properties or 20. There's little things that may help landlords in here, like the tenant can't go to the tribunal if you increase rent up to inflation, because before, and it might not come in, but before they could, and the tribunal could actually only affect that from when it's dealt with. So if there's an 8-month delay at the tribunal, the tenant will just apply and then get that 8 months at the same price. And also the tribunal could lower the rent, and then what that means is that the landlord might be scared to go to tribunal, because it could mean that they have to backdate all of that. That's been dealt with in here, but whether that becomes, whether that amendment changes, we'll see. Okay. There's other things here for rent-to-rent operators, where the responsibilities with the landlord. There's not really, I won't really go into that because it's not too clear at the moment what that would entail, because I don't want to give any erroneous information. So yeah, the amendment ceases. So pretty much, the new clause would restrict the circumstances in which a landlord can request a guarantor. That's been dealt with. As I said before, this short-term restrictions being dealt with, which, I mean, it's a backdoor planning permission, increasing planning permission, which they said they didn't want to do. They wanted to make it easier, so that's a bit weird. Let's have a look. Duration of HMO license. Guys, I've literally gone through the whole act for you here, so if you don't mind, at least press the like button for me. It's taken my whole Sunday afternoon while everyone else is at the pub in the nice weather. So guys, oh yeah, another one, which we don't do on this channel, we're responsible landlords, but illegal evictions, the police are having more responsibilities now. They have to actually investigate it, because it was a bit like a civil issue before. So that's, I'd like to see what police who are meant to be fighting actual crime have got to say about that, where they're having to investigate landlords, whether they've given notice properly to evict. That's a bit weird. I don't think I'll be happy about that. I think this one should come into force, and I will do it on this channel together as my last comment, okay? This amendment, so I'll change that to this act, would require a review of the impact of the act on the housing market, particularly in relation to the amount of rented homes, rent charge, house prices and requests for social housing. That is a clear indication what's going to happen, guys. And that's from a wealthy lord, okay? So what I would say is going to happen, reading that, and obviously I've said it in other videos, I didn't need that spelling out because I'm in the industry, I know. The availability of rented homes is going to go down. There's not going to be more landlords because of this, obviously. That's why the UK is such a good market, though, because if you look at somewhere else like Dubai, where everyone seems to be going who's trying to escape tax. They're just continuously building and building and building, and there's more supply. So prices go down, whether it's rent or house prices. Here, they're not building and the supply is going down. So what does that mean to prices? It goes up. Rents charged will go up. House prices will more than likely go up. More than likely go up. They do anyway. And requests for social housing will go up. So one of our key businesses now is to give properties to social housing on 3-year leases at a good above market rent and have no headache, no maintenance, and just concentrate on growing your business and buying the properties, because you make money when you buy, not necessarily from rent. So that's a clear indication that's going to get even more popular. So guys, the future's bright. Don't get too put off being a landlord. Newbie investors, you're playing a different game now, but you didn't know the old game, so it's irrelevant to you. Landlords who've got 5 or 4 properties who come to me all the time, we just need to tweak the business. We just need to have our ducks in a row. We need to be analysing our tenants. We need to be giving it social housing, and we need to be reinvesting, because now is a very good time to buy, guys. You don't want to be buying when that fear and greed index, when the greed is 90, because it's going to go back, right? You want to be buying when there's fear, when there's blood on the streets, buy. And there's a lot of blood on the street, guys, and you can see from this, and it's the best time to be buying, especially below market value properties, which we're sourcing all the time, getting our money back out, getting it rented properly, avoiding all of this, staying low and being profitable landlords, and make sure you're spending money abroad. See you in the next one.